Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to call this July 16th, 2024 meeting to order. Would you please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Kluskevich?
Here.
Mr. Lister?
Here.
Ms. Lloyd?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Willenbecker? Mr. Reddiner?
Here. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to report on our last executive session. We discussed matters of real estate, litigation, and personnel. No actions were taken. At this time, do I have public comment on agenda items?
Jack Still. On the study for the police, highway, and electric, in the packet, it was mentioned 28,000 a couple of times. Is that just 28,000 charge, or 28 for electric, 28 for police, and 28 for highway?
I'm not sure where you're referring to. In
The
somebody's
contract
report.
that you're going to
Is
do.
it on the electric one?
No, for the building, building studies for the,
Oh, the space study?
space study.
Yeah, that was as directed at the last meeting to eliminate the police.
Okay,
It's a
well, I
space
see.
study on the electric. And
Well, I've seen 28,000 listed, I think more than once or twice in there, and I wasn't sure if it was 28 for, okay, thank you.
Any other public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, agenda item number 1.
Do I have a motion to approve council meeting minutes for the July 2nd, 2024 meeting as submitted?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Lister. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2.
Do I have a motion to approve payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated July 10th, 2024, which is for the period of June 27th, 2024 through July 10th, 2024, and approval to ratify such bills already paid and to authorize the appropriate officials to take the required action to make those payments?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Miller. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3.
Okay, as you see, there's a special request in your packet from the MABA. They're looking for approval to close Susquehanna Street and Wood Street for baseball tournaments, and they're also looking to...
Mr. Kleinpeter, I'm sorry, agenda item number 3 is Mara.
Oh, these are out of order, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Got my motions out of order. Number 3, Mara. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-17, authorizing entering into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with participating entities for the purpose of maintaining a Middletown Area Recreation Alliance to administer joint recreation programs?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Lister, second by Councilor Kluskevich. Any questions or comments? Councilor Lloyd?
Excuse me, I just want to be clear that this is for 5 years, correct?
It is. I also verified the population numbers are
I
accurate.
did see that.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Lloyd?
I just want to add that I will be voting no because, as I stated at the last meeting, I don't think we should enter into a 5-year agreement. So, that is why.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4.
Okay, now we're on the MABA request, the special application that's in your packet for closing Spruce Street at Oak Hills Park and closing Fisher Avenue between Susquehanna and Wood. Do I have a motion to approve MABA request to close Susquehanna Street and Wood Street and Susquehanna Street and Fisher Avenue at Med Ed Park and Spruce Street from Hillside to Beechwood at Oak Hills Park for July 26th and August 2nd from 4 to 9, and July 27th and 28th and August 3rd and 4th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. for baseball tournaments.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Reed, second by Counselor Lister. Any questions or comments on the special request? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 5.
Okay, that would be my report. If you're looking at that there, number 1 is what our public comment was about. It's the revised space study that's in your packet that removed, as requested, removed the police department from the study and focused only on the electric and highway. The new cost for that work is now down to $28,000 for your consideration. If you're interested in putting it on the agenda, or if you want to discuss it some more, or if you don't think we need it, now's the time to let us know how you want to move forward.
Doesn't Greg already have money in the electric sinking fund for his study?
Greg does have sinking fund money for capital projects. He was going to use some money, I think, out of his operating budget to do the original electric study, or electric plans, preliminary plans that he was looking at for adding on at the, down where his shop is there on Ray Street. But we did not budget money this year for highway and property for any type of feasibility study or space study.
Do we absolutely need to do one for highway this year then?
Me, I don't know that it's urgent. I mean, you know, council wanted to, you know, directed us to look at a larger study after Greg's study was denied. It was not approved, and said they want, you know, wanted to look at it, a larger picture to see what, you know, we might need. But
So, how much of this is covered? I mean, if we did the whole thing, where would the highway money come from?
I don't really have a real answer for that. We don't, you know, I don't think he knows either. The study
And it has to
basically
be
was,
separated, correct?
It wasn't a planned expense, but I don't think, from the original cost estimate, to look at just electric, to look at electric, police and highway, and then you backed it off to electric and highway. I don't think there's a big variation in that cost.
No, I think
When
it's
we look
actually
at it
cheaper,
totally.
right? Wasn't the original one more?
It was over
Yeah.
30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I was able to cover that. So, I mean, it's council's wishes, and I understand, you know.
but the first study that you presented was really different than what this one is.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a high level overview of space. And the first one that Greg presented for his department only actually would produce a site plan for expansion that could be used for construction eventually, or at least the site plan part.
It did a little bit of space analysis, but not, it relied on me for the space analysis, more so than looking at everything as a space analysis, through the engineers.
I would say at this time, you know, the only thing I could say about the study, it really was commissioned by council without any regard for where the money was coming from when his was turned down. He had the money for electric, but if we're gonna study other departments,
That has to
they
be
ought to have,
separated.
pay their fair share, and that hasn't been funded in this year's budget. So, if we still have some doubts about what we wanna do there, I would suggest we hold off and budget for it.
I agree. I wouldn't do it.
I mean, is there a way we can move ahead with the electric and
Mm-hmm.
then schedule,
We could bring that original proposal back and we could ask Greg to compare it for you, what that's doing versus what this is doing.
And I can tell you, that original proposal was really looked at hard, whether or not we could incorporate the highway into that project. And I think what we looked at and what your engineers are gonna bring back thing is that it is gonna be tough to find a place and find an area to put all that equipment, all the resources, and all the employees in one location. And
I agree. I disagree with
that's
that.
why we looked at just doing a separate study for the electric, and it was talked about. We looked at doing a separate study for the electric and getting that process moved, and then
Well,
getting that highway
let's,
process.
yeah.
You know,
We're not the engineers here and we don't know the prices, so let's not get into our own opinions. Basically, at this point, being a workshop, we want to know if council wants to look at this thing in a larger context or not, as far as looking at, because it originally came up at a meeting that I was absent at, and Matt and Greg were directed to go back and ask for a study of all the areas. We presented that, and council shot that down, and now we're at that meeting where they shot that down, they said remove the police. We removed the police, so that's where we're at now with 28,000 in front of you.
Right.
So I guess we have to, I need to know, do you still want to move forward with that as we were directed?
I think
Frank, to you.
I think one thing that we can all agree on is the fact that we do have issues when it comes to public works and electric as far as the space that they have. I think we can all agree that both departments could use some more space. I'm not in fan of spending this money for this particular study. Council knows my thoughts and wishes on that. Yeah.
I agree with President Redding. I'm not. There's been some other, other sites talked about and ideas thrown out there. I just don't feel like we have well, me personally, I don't have the understanding or the information or everything put together to vote on this. I'm gonna consider other
So-
options.
Yeah, that's what this 28,000 in this study was for, was to try to bring you into what might be a viable option
So this one,
for expansion.
this one was to look at the whole borough.
This was a look at the highway department and the electric department, see what could be done. Whether it be one, is it beneficial to do one building somewhere? Is it beneficial just to add on to each one?
Yeah.
Those types of things, that's what this.
So I think I'm getting both of them. I'm getting the original one and then this one kind of confused. Because the original.
There are actually three versions.
No, three.
The original one was electric only,
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
and that one focused more on a location.
Gotcha.
This second study looked at three departments and didn't focus in on any one location, but we're gonna look at where your locations are now, what your space problems are, and how could we solve them? Can we solve them on site? Can we solve them putting them all together somewhere else?
Okay.
And I'll direct council to focus where, what are your priorities and what are you looking to spend?
Gotcha.
Here's what each option might cost you. That's what this gives you.
And then in regards to the highway and
Electric only.
electric,
Yeah.
they're looking at the whole borough.
Looking at their operations and saying, what can we do on their site? If
This
we
one.
can't do it, if we can't do anything on their site, is there some other site we should look at? That sort of thing is what that looks at.
I'm sorry, Councilor Lloyd, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I may be the only person at this table that's a little confused about these studies, but I'm gonna ask the question as I
Obviously, I
understand.
was too.
So I have a question for you. If we did this study for just the electric, because highway doesn't have money budgeted for it, so we'd have to take it out of cash if we did highway, right? Or somewhere. Okay. So if we did, this study for electric, would we have to go back and do another study similar to the first one that you presented?
Not for electric, but I'm sure there would be a study for highway.
Right, yes, so take
Correct.
highway out of that for right now. What my question is, if we did your first study, would we have to do this study then?
No.
Which
that
study gives us
that would
all
take
the
care of
information?
electric, yeah. That study there took care of electric, because we pretty much were looking at the options of possibly finding, larger area up near the highway department, making a bigger building for both operations to move in there instead of being spread across 3 different areas and having the equipment outside that in deteriorating weather, that maybe the electric is not gonna fit there, and it, when you look at the footprints, it's not really hard to see. And I'm not an engineer, but I can tell you, I've been around this place long enough that I know what they're gonna say, I think. And the footprint is just too big for the electric to be with the highway. And so we decided to look at maybe just doing a electric study first, let the highway get a study, budget for it, their study for next year.
Mr. Wilsbach, I don't agree with your analysis on the footprint, because I've looked at the footprint, and the footprint at the existing highway department, it would take the whole block from the police department all the way down to Univar to get the same amount of real estate.
Just for electric?
No, I'm talking about the space, up at the space that, the potential space at the existing highway department.
Okay.
If you look at that on Google Earth and you image the square footage,
Okay.
to gain that same amount of space down at the police station, you would have to take the whole block.
No, we're not talking about the highway area. The electric is only 3 vehicles in that highway area, and their equipment and their materials in other buildings. And if you look at that, it does not take up that area. The highway department takes up most of the highway equipment. Up there. We're going up in electric vehicles. The guys are going up there, punching in, driving down in pickup trucks to go to 3 different spots to pick up electric vehicles. That doesn't make sense. I'm simply saying that you can build on to that police station. We were once in that police station, was built for us, just so you know.
Okay,
It was built for electric. So you can build on and still keep the police station in there. And I personally believe that there will be plenty of room down there to accommodate those vehicles and those issues that the electric's having with going to different places and have a bathroom down there for the guys.
Do you believe that with the existing real estate that the borough owns, there's enough space? Or do you have to go into taking neighbors' property?
That would be up to the study. I think that would be up more so to the study. And it, I'm not against, sometimes it's good to have real estate, especially in our case with our substation being that close. You want your electric department to be that close, and you may want generators and peakers and certain items to be close to that substation too. So yes, it may be worthwhile for the borough to look into that. I agree with that.
I do not agree with taking neighbors' houses down there.
I mean, I'm not saying take them from people, but if they're up for sale or they want to, I would say that's a smart idea from the borough. Absolutely. So that study is what it is. The original one was for electric. This is for electric and highway combined. You can do with it what you want. It counts as, choice.
I say we scrap this 28,000 study for right now, and
The longer you hold off.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
that's that would be the highway though of that study that I'm talking about.
Just
Yours,
scrap the highway portion of the study and go back to the original.
right?
Instead of doing the study, why don't we just, if that's the case, and he knows where he wants to be, he obviously knows he wants to be located at the police department, why don't we then just design what he needs down there?
That's what the study will do.
Yeah.
But I still won't vote for it because it'll bleed into taking neighbors' property, and I will not vote for that.
Okay,
No,
so
never said about
are we in agreement, or do we want to go with this study, or do we want to go with the first study that just has electric only? I think that's the question, right?
Yeah.
And highway doesn't have any money to pay for this study, so we'd have to find the funds somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. So I'm saying do away with the $28,000, then just go with Greg's study that he already has.
Right, that has nothing to, that's
That's right.
separate from this study
Right.
then.
You do have to understand that they are 2 different concepts. The one that he first presented to you is focused on, we're gonna build here. Where is
Wait,
that?
that what? I'm sorry.
That proposal that he received, that first one presented, was to build at a specific location.
Where
Right.
he is now.
Right. This one doesn't do that. This study looks at what the needs are in terms of square footage and looks at where can we put them, not necessarily where he's at now, but
Move
gonna
them
look
somewhere
at-
else.
here, your work product says, conceptual site plan sketches, conceptual probable cost opinions of different, options, and presentation to the borough. Scope of service does include detailed surveying of existing buildings or interior layout. You're basically going to determine how much more space is needed at each one of these facilities, and then come up with some options as far as how you might meet those needs.
So essentially, this one could lead to the need of another study if we went with this.
That one could say, not that study, that study will focus on the electric.
It would get you to decide what do you want to do.
The study Ken's talking about would tell you whether or not there is a place for electric and highway to coincide with each other, and there's plenty of location, plenty of property and that. And then it'll give you a cost analysis of it.
Or
Or it may say, maybe you need to focus
Or-
on doing the highway here, doing the electric here, and
That's right.
that's what your cost analysis is. And I'm fine with that too. I just think there needs to be a study done. And if you don't wanna include the electric, that's council's prerogative.
Highway.
Yeah, but you can, and it will tell us. And I'm fine with being, if it comes back and says, okay, we think that if the church up there is no longer and, you know, they wanna sell their property to the borough, we can put a public works complex up there. I'm fine with that. I really am.
So, and
But I think we need a study regardless of the.
I actually agree with Director Wilsbach on that, and my vote would lead to doing a study to analyze the location of the public works and the church, that footprint on what we could do to put new facilities in there that would house everything, because that footprint combined equals the whole entire city block of where the church is, or I mean where the police station is.
No,
It does.
it
Because-
will not, but not with what electric has. When you look at the different buildings where electric is, and it will not. I've run it, I'm telling you, I've looked at the different locations. And I'm not an engineer, I'm just looking out for the best opportunity for council and highway and electric to figure this out, but it, you know.
let me just read this paragraph that gives you the meat of this scope here, this analysis that they would prevent. The scope of this analysis shall consist of concept level planning to provide Borough Council with potential options to improve/expand the physical facilities of their electric department and highway department. We will meet with the borough staff to sketch various conceptual building blocks and land use concepts to accommodate the departments on their existing sites, as well as exploring opportunities for potential expansions. Upon borough approval of a preferred concept for each department, we will compile a concept site sketch plan along with an opinion of probable cost based on typical square foot costs for similar facilities to present to Borough Council. So that's what that gets you. That first one, Mr. Councilman Lister, that Greg presented was,
Yeah.
we're focusing on this site only, and here's where we're gonna expand the electric.
Yep.
That's what that was.
Thank you.
This one doesn't come to that conclusion
No.
where we're gonna expand.
Great. Yeah. Thanks
until-
for clarifying that, because I was confused. I had the two mixed up in my mind there. Well, I'm not gonna vote for this until we explore this site as a potential opportunity. I'm with Councilman Redding, or President Redding there, that site up there where highway seems like a potential fit for both departments. And I don't know if that's even a possibility due to like I don't know if they're willing to sell it or whatever. So until I know for sure, I'm not willing to
So,
go for that.
you're not willing to spend any money to do anything, so we're just gonna sit here with our thumbs up our butts like we normally do and do nothing. So, Greg said it, without a study, we don't know what we need. Matt, without a study, we don't know what Matt needs. So if we're not gonna spend any money, we're not gonna do this study, we're never gonna find out what we need.
I would
Fair
like
point.
to do the electric, since you already have the money, whether it's the first one or the second one, and then Matt budget for one for next year for highway. And then we'll go from there.
I certainly have no issue with taking the money from Greg's fund to fund a study for his
Right.
department.
Right.
Matt has to wait till next year and put it in his budget.
Right.
And it'll get approved. So somewhere along the way, we've gotta come up with either have HRG do it, go back to Greg, and I don't remember what your whole conceptual study was.
I think some of what this will do is in his original one. Cause part of this is like determining how much space you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's what we need,
But I don't
that's
know
what we
if
need
look
to know.
at the highway separately, so if you wanna look at both, you have to approve that study.
I'd like to say something.
If you wanna look at
Mr.
electric-
Wilsbach, thank you. I would like to say something.
Whoa, wait, I was listening to him. Can he finish? Cause he was explaining something and I actually am still a little confused.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you wanna look at the electric and highway together as a study, that may put those two departments in separate spots. That study will do that. It may put us together. If you wanna just look at electric, I believe that study was looking at mainly the police department building area,
Right.
where we're already 50% in.
But again, if we do this, there's a funding issue because Matt has no money in the budget for this study for the highway portion. So that money would have to come from somewhere. Okay, thank you, I understand.
So the point I'd like to bring to everybody's attention, before we just spend $28,000, the church is owned by an agency that we can't take by eminent domain. So before we just spend 28 grand, I think it's worth a phone call to that agency and ask them, are they willing to sell it or not?
They already made the
That's been
phone
done.
call.
This phone call's been made and they're willing to sell it?
No.
They're not willing to sell it?
Well, there's a tenant right now, and they're not gonna do anything while they have a tenant,
So they're not willing to sell it.
not while they have a tenant.
The study would probably look into that. If there's no chance of that being sold, why would the study look at putting the electric
Okay.
department up there?
So with that information, because I was not aware of that information, I was not aware that
It was in the email.
I've been out of town for 9 days. I've been out of town for 9 days.
We
and
actually talked about those in executive session because they're property things.
news to me. Okay. So I guess the highway department's it's not even an option because there's a tenant there. So there's no point even talking about it. Look at that.
That's
Look,
installed.
boom, it's done. Not even an option.
Do we just proceed with Greg doing what he's gonna do?
But we have
Nope.
to decide if we're going forward with the first study or this one. But there's not enough funding, there's no highway funding for this study that's in front of us right now.
So, just like,
I'm sorry, I don't have the price of the first study in front of me.
It was over 30.
Was it over 30? And this price is cheaper?
Yeah.
yeah,
It doesn't give you the full comprehensive study as what the one was where we knew we wanted to go, but this looks at it as a broad range, and I'm fine with that. I will pay for it out of my budget.
okay.
Sounds good to me.
So with that being said, I will just go on record saying that it is my belief / prediction that the first study will indicate that there's not enough space at the police station and we would have to bleed into neighboring yards, neighboring property. So I won't vote for it for that reason because I believe that'll be the case. However, if that's what the council wishes to do we have that study ready to vote on tonight?
Well, I think what Greg was just referring to this one,
That is correct.
Yep,
the $28,000 one that looks at the bigger picture. And, Greg just, mentioned that it could be funded out of his budget if council elects to do this.
Should we put it on the agenda for next meeting's vote?
You want it
Yeah.
on the business meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hold on, now you confused me. I was good until you just said that. So
Yeah, me
if we do this one, this whole thing is coming out of electric.
That's what he just said.
Yeah.
He's-
This
he's willing-
entire study,
Correct.
So
which would encompass the highway too.
No,
It's a broader study. I mean,
What he's
it's
saying-
broad,
what
so
he's
it's
saying-
not a comprehensive study of the electric. It's broad, but the electric can handle that out of its budget.
Counselor Lloyd, what he's saying is, in the perfect world, if we had budgeted money in the highway, we'd split this cost 50-50 between the two budgets.
Right, but we don't have to.
He has offered,
Okay,
since I have the money, take the 100% out of the electric engine
okay.
fund.
then I say let's vote on it next meeting. That's where I am.
All right, put it on the agenda for vote.
Okay.
Okay, item number 2 there, we have a draft ordinance ready for, to put on for advertisement for, our next meeting, if you're willing to put that on the agenda for the new trash rates.
Yep.
And item number 3, we voted on, that's the Mara agreement. And number 4 is, I can give you an update that we received a resolution from the Borough of Royalton which supports the new, fire service agreement,
Mhm.
but we have not yet received the signed copy of the,
They,
actual agreement from them.
they signed it Tuesday night. Oh, no, Jody wasn't there, so Chris might have
We don't
signed
have
it.
a signed copy of the agreement yet, but I would like to have your permission to put it on the agenda for August with anticipation that we'll have it by then for you to act on.
Sounds good.
Item number 5 is the Overdeer Park improvements. We are ready to authorize HRG to put it out to bid. So we're asking if we can put that on the August business agenda for that approval. And item number 6 is the old 2001 KME pumper truck. We discussed the 7% brokerage fee by a broker to sell it for us. We have a drafted a resolution, and we got a range from the broker as what we should be asking for, to accept no more than, no less than 45K, and we could potentially see up to 75K. But the advice is that if we see anything 45K over, just to take it. They also recommended that we have an updated pump test before we put it up for sale. And with that said, I'd like to put that on the August agenda for a vote.
Yep.
Will all the proceeds from the sale of the truck go into the fire sinking fund?
We can decide that at some point. The question was asked, I know it was discussed before, that it would go into the fire sinking fund, but I could not find any minutes that approved, had a motion. It must have just been a discussion. So,
Should we make a motion now? Or can we?
Be part of the resolution.
Yeah, that should be part of it.
I would wait to see what it sells for, and then you can include the cost.
I'm not worried about what the cost is. I mean, that's irrelevant. The fact that the money goes directly to the fire sinking fund is my main concern.
That's
I'd like to see what it sells for first.
up to you folks.
And what it sells for 100,
I want the money from the sale of this 2001 KME to go directly to the fire sinking fund. No side track, right where it belongs.
We can put that on the agenda.
Can we put that in the
Can
resolution?
you put it in the resolution, put it in the agenda, do whatever. That's the fire department's money, it goes back to the fire department.
well, let's be fair, it's not the fire department money, it's the borough money. And if that's the wishes, then we should be really looking at just giving it to the fire department, because they can sell it and they won't have to pay a 7% brokerage fee. And they keep 100% of the proceeds. But to be fair, it is not the fire department's money, it's the borough's money, it's the taxpayers' money.
Very well may be the borough's money, but the money from any sale of any fire equipment goes back into the fire sinking fund. It's always been that way.
Whatever you gotta do, Ken. Make it a part of the resolution, put it on the next meeting, make it a motion, I don't really care. Just so it's addressed and it's documented as to where it's going.
Yeah. Solicitor Diamond, I'm not so sure it's required to be in a resolution. I know what
Now, it
the
doesn't have to be in, I mean, you could just do it as an oral motion.
yeah,
at
the
the next meeting if you
resolution is
want.
required to sell
To sell it, yeah.
property.
All right.
But we don't necessarily have to have the amount in there.
I mean, I
I
would,
mean, that way we could do it without revising the resolution. You
That's
just
fine.
add an agenda item for
Right.
disposition of
Yeah.
proceeds or something.
Okay.
Add it as an agenda item.
Yeah.
my recommendation at that point would not even be for us to sell it, to just give it to the fire department so they could capture 100% of all the profit.
It's okay, keep your pen to yourself, please. We'll
I'm
talk
just-
about it at the next meeting. We'll vote on it. The council will vote on it, not you.
Am I not allowed to have an opinion,
You can
Mr.
have an
Kluskevich?
opinion.
Well, my opinion is to give it to the
You
fire
got one
department.
vote, and that's your opinion.
And my opinion is to give it to the fire department.
Mr. President,
Yes.
that was brought up before, and at the solicitor's discretion, he said that would not be a good idea because.
No, I said we could do it. No, you missed, so that's completely wrong. I absolutely said we could do that.
But if I sold it and gave the money to the sinking fund, I would have been sent acting as a broker is what I was told at that point.
I'm not sure who told you that. I never heard that theory before. What
You-
I had said when it came up was
Now, here's
that, that we could, without auctioning it,
here's what I'll say.
we could
about it.
title it to the fire department who could sell to, through the
If
broker.
it's the intention of council to want to use that money, proceeds, to buy future fire equipment, my recommendation would be you just retain ownership and sell it. Because if you want to transfer the ownership over to the fire department, you're gonna have to title it in their name, and then it becomes theirs, and they can choose to sell it and do whatever they want with it. They don't have to pay for new fire equipment with it.
That's okay.
They can go and
The record
Fix the
says
building.
straight, we want the money to go into the sinking fund for the next fire truck.
That's,
Whether it's 45,000 or 100,000, I appreciate that, with the simple fact of when we did go forward with the purchase of the current 2020 Seagrave engine, the agreement was I would keep going for debt reduction until it was paid in full, which should hopefully happen yet this year.
Right.
That new engine didn't impact the boroughs and the taxpayers throughout the past 4 years, as hard as it would have without the funding. So I've done that. I've secured 45,000, 75,000, 125,000 towards that engine that's sitting down there. All we're asking for is the money for the sale of this to purchase the next one, so you and I, Mr. Kleinpeter, aren't sitting in front of the gaming advisory board begging for more money for the next fire truck.
And with that being said, my only question would be which entity sells it would get the best bang for the buck? That would be my question.
I think it comes out the same. You know,
Yeah.
if they're gonna sell through the broker, they're gonna have 7%
All
commission.
last week on Wednesday, I sat all morning with Mr. Kleinpeter and Ms. Miller, getting everything finalized to move forward on this. That time is done, that ship is ready to go, you guys voted on it, I say we just keep going with it, because then if not, I have to do advertising. I have to pay for the advertising at that point, so, not saying the advertising is gonna be an absorbent amount of money, however, to put it in magazines and everything, I gotta pay for half a page at $500 here, or whatever, to get it in a half a page of a magazine, where everything's set and ready to go, I don't know.
I would just like to say that I'm not in favor of transferring it to the fire department. No offense to the fire department, but they're volunteers, and I'm sorry, but they have jobs and families, and they protect our citizens when there's a fire. I really don't think they need to be burdened with selling a piece of equipment to save 7%. Yes, I'm all about let's make as much money as we can, but this takes everybody out of the picture and lets one person do it, and then we just distribute the funds. It's pretty simple. That's what this business does for a living.
Yeah, I don't think they save the 7% anyway.
No.
For them to do it, they're gonna have to pay the 7% commission. So all my point was legally, we had two ways of doing it. I didn't know if the broker would be willing to do it this way, where they're gonna only sell it to, or we're gonna have control. So I think that was the most efficient way, and that's how we have it set up to go. The other legal way we could do it would be to transfer title to the fire department, let them handle it, but there's no cost advantage going that way.
Right.
So it made sense to me to do it,
Well,
the way we have it set up with resolution.
Then we proceed
Yeah.
with the sale of the fire truck, but make a motion that, or have a motion on,
Well, I have a resolution tightly crafted to make it legal, that we could sell it without auctioning it
right.
by engaging this particular broker.
No, but I'm just saying, but once the sale is done, the money automatically goes into the fire sinking fund where it belongs.
Yeah, you certainly, as council, can set it up that way. We don't have to have it in the same resolution. That can just be
Just so long as it happens that when it comes in for the sale, that the dispensation of the funds. the
You're gonna
motion-
have a motion ready at the next meeting, right?
Right. Okay. You okay, Ian?
I am fine.
Alright.
Fine. Fine.
That's all I have.
Agenda item number 6, codes.
Good evening. Just to look at some statistics with number 2 on my report, 32 rental complaints, 46 property complaints in June. That was a high for this year. I believe it was even for last year. So we have had an increase in complaints with various items, and we followed up with most of them. And then looking up at that, number 1, out of all those complaints, we have 54 open violations, which is a good average. So we've been able to get those complaints resolved in a very good, timely manner. One thing I do want to add on that is not on my report that was given to me yesterday is to put on the agenda for the next meeting to recommend approval for the handicap parking application that will be submitted in the next meeting for 164 North Catherine Street. We did this assessment on that, and we would recommend approval for that on the next meeting. We're looking to get into more details with lot consolidations in the borough, and we'll discuss that with our solicitor. But we want to focus on what I have brought forth in your report packets here. The quick ticket item, our solicitor created the ordinance for that, a draft ordinance. Just to give you a summary, last year we were discussing this. The current process for us is putting a notice on the door or through mail and then waiting for that response. And 7 days is the typical compliance date, and we still would have to wait for a response for that. And then after no response, we send a citation to the district magistrate, which that gets mailed, and we have to wait for them to receive that, to respond to that. They may not respond to that, and this stuff is occurring through those months of time. Here, this sort of puts a little more pressure on the owner of the property, and they get a warning, and they have the 7 days. And then the second offense within the calendar year, they get a $65 fine, which goes directly towards the borough with all the fees and the time that's put into play. If they fail to comply within that time period, then the third offense goes in a calendar year, and that's a $90 fine, and it just increases that up to $165 at the fourth offense. And then that also goes to the district magistrate's office, which could be up to a $300 fine if the magistrate's office fines them before that. So this puts a little more skin in the game for the owner to get things completed, and less of us chasing the property owners and trying to get things done. We may still have to chase them, but at least we have fines into the borough.
Yeah, and probably should point out that the probably more important part of this is really the inherently transient things like tall grass.
Correct.
So it's really more about, you know, not having the person that's a repeat offender that you can never actually cite them because, you know, they wait until the 10th day each time, whatever it is. The reality of the fines is there's not a big increase in fines because the MDJ really can treat each day as a violation and really hammer fines even under the current thing. But the problem is when you have something like tall grass, it, you know, if somebody games the system, they just, you know, let the grass be tall until they get a citation, or a warning, wait till the last day, cut the grass and then let it grow, you know, again, or, you know, trash, things like that.
Right.
So it's,
Yeah, those are the two items that are on this, the trash and the grass. That way, those things should be done within a 24-hour period typically, instead of waiting weeks, months for them to be incomplete. So that's on the agenda to recommend for a vote on that. And I have provided you a sample of what those quick ticket items would look like. I drafted that myself. It's all going to be done in-house. There would be no outsourcing of fees for that, so we're basically just our own in-house labor and costs with those. And that would be mailed to them like a typical certified mail, or emailed or posted on the door or the property if there is no place to put that.
It's good. I appreciate you doing that.
Yep.
I think it's a great thing.
Thank you. The
60 days for political signs?
Yeah, that'll be on my next one here. If we want to go jump to that, we can. Did you have questions? Bless you. The next one is number 5, the fee schedules. Staff has worked diligently to put this into some sort of cohesive understanding and updates with costs that are in place. You will see what is highlighted is fairly new, that was not on the 2020 resolution fee schedule. Nothing really significant or different with those, just the thought of colored copies and the cost of the ink toner and all that, and putting that into play. And the zoning permits have been increased just slightly because in 2020 they had different increments that were kind of staggered. So we made it more consistent with rounded, like either 10s or 5s for the fees versus the $3 increments or the $8 increments or whatever it might be. So there's slight increases, but not significant increases. So if you have reviewed all that and are good with that, we would recommend approval for that resolution. And as we discussed a lot, consolidations, there'll be other things, and the quick ticket item fees, those will be added into another resolution as they get passed as well.
just ask a question on I see the floodplain permit being indexed to the cost of the project.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've been involved in litigation other places on construction permit fees being improper when they're based on the cost, in that they don't necessarily tie into the cost of the administrative time. And I'm kind of thinking, is that potentially an issue here with the floodplain permit? When I think about floodplains, you have to do a big analysis whether you're
Right.
doing a little thing or a big thing, and
Right.
I almost would think it shouldn't really be tied to the cost of the underlying project, but more to what your time is, which, and I know it's pretty
Right.
intensive analysis.
Yeah.
But it would seem odd to me, just because somebody's doing a more expensive version of something that,
Well, with the floodplain fees, we had the two discussed, the lower fee for the 0 to, I believe it was 5,000.
oh, I'm sorry. I was
10,000.
misreading that. I was thinking you were trying to have $50 for each.
No,
Okay.
no, we set that off for the low cost.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. I think
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
You're
so,
saying just 2 levels, there'd be a
Right.
$50 fee or
right,
$100.
rather than getting it too
Okay.
complicated, because.
Yeah, and I can see that break where
Mhm.
this is a little shed or something, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I apologize, that was
No, you're good.
my misunderstanding
Mhm.
the grid there.
Any other questions regarding that?
No.
Great, thank you. On to number 6. The codes department, as of yesterday, we received a second, from we believe the same, complainant. We had a written complaint regarding a political sign being displayed, prematurely. Our ordinance currently states it's 60 days prior to the election day, which November 5th is the next election, so September 5th, there on out, they officially would be allowed to put political signs up. We don't have limits of how many, but we do have limits of the size, and whether they're in right-of-ways or posted on telephone poles or anything like that, so there's those types of things. We are asking, as a staff, knowing that we are in a presidential political election, do you want us to enforce what is on our ordinance, or leave the signs as they are?
I have actually a question to play devil's advocate for the solicitor.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the First Amendment.
Does that
Make
get
sure
in-
there's no more recent cases on that.
Yeah,
My question would be, A, how are we defining a political sign? And B, are we stepping on First Amendment rights?
right,
Well, wasn't there recently a court case?
in Camp Hill,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
it went to the federal level.
and what was the outcome on that?
So I tried looking into the details, and maybe our solicitor would be able to get more.
Yeah, we'll have to look to see, because there's been a lot of movement on that
Yeah,
recently, and
And,
to see where the line is right now.
yeah, because I would be afraid of stepping on somebody's First
Yeah,
Amendment, right?
Yeah.
I think we have to be very careful. about
yeah, and Camp Hill tried to restrict the amount of signs in that.
Yeah.
And, that was sort of where the draw was going into play. But we aren't restricting the amount of signs, we're looking at the size of the signs and the timing of the signs. So,
Yeah,
but we
this is an older ordinance, I believe, and, being one of the older guys around the table here, why, I believe the reason for those ordinances back then were, more directed toward, at the time, because you didn't see a lot of federal-type signs back in the day, you'd see the local
Mm.
people running, and, you know, as far as your property in your town looking nice, you didn't want to see signs littered all over the place for a long period of time before an election, and, plus you don't want to give somebody an unfair advantage either, so they had a
Yeah, that
cutoff.
part we'll have to look at.
But the
to
whole
see.
constitutional thing's a different matter now. We're
Yeah.
starting to see more federal things.
Yeah, I was
on.
gonna say, it's funny, but on the back end, it's
Yeah.
looser in terms of, okay, now the election's all over, about cleaning up the
Cleaning
signs
up.
afterwards.
Yeah.
But I'll have to see where the line is now, pre-election, because that does get to be much more of a constitutional issue, because it's,
Yeah.
politically relevant already to
Yeah.
people.
Staff doesn't have a preference. We want to bring it to you because,
Yeah, no,
like you
it's
said, some complaints. came in.
Question, and I guess I'd caution in the meantime, till I can look at it,
Mhm.
I would not.
And that
Or
will be our
so-
response to the complainant.
Yeah, that, solicitor's gonna look at the,
Yeah.
updating the, make sure we know the constitutional landscape.
Right. Okay. Otherwise, yeah.
I have a question, not regarding that, but the, handicap
Mhm.
parking permit, can you send us the little drawing or, picture
The
that you normally do?
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you send that out before the next meeting?
yes, I had sent it to Grace earlier today.
Oh,
So
okay.
she'll give all, I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure it was put on the
Okay.
agenda for vote. Because if we waited, it wouldn't be until late
Mhm.
August
Mhm.
for that to be implemented.
Thank you.
And it's North Catherine.
North Catherine.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 7, electric.
I don't have any items for this month. I do want to say that there were 3 outages this month due to squirrels. So
if you're feeding them, please tell them stop getting in our primary. Just let them know it's not gonna end up well for them. Also, new lineman started, last week to replace one that moved on to another position. We look forward to him being part of our family. And the last thing I have is, like, tonight I showed, Counselor Lister and Counselor Reed a little bit about how the PJM works, how procuring energy works, how the borough's system with responding to energy, along with our transformers and our circuits and everything else works. If anybody ever wants to see that, it's probably boring to you, but if you ever had any time and want to learn a little bit about it, just give me a call, and I'll show you on the SCADA systems and how procuring energy has changed over the years, and we've been lucky for the last 7 or 8, to buy energy the way we have. Whether that stays the same way, we don't know, but you can see, showing them how, you can have a $550 megawatt day versus a $20 megawatt day. So, with that said, hopefully 3 Mile Island opens back up. And any questions on my report? Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8.
Now put my Sally hat on now. From the Grace hat. So the only items I have, they're all requesting vote in the 8-5 meeting, is after the audit, there's a number of transfers that we do every year. One is the 10%, which is a rainy day fund. And I give you the calculations there that we have, that we do, that come from the auditors, and you can see I've noted the page numbers on the audit. And the other one is the 30% fund balance, which is actually just bringing it up or down so that it matches where we should be with our assets, whether it's cash or ownership of building and equipment. Then we have the 10% allocations that we make every year that was through a resolution. The volunteer fire department gets 10%, which you'll see the amount here that goes to their fire sinking fund. The MS4, 10% up to 50, and Public Works is 10% up to 50. So they'll be on the agenda for vote for 8-5. The next item that I have on for vote is the we have a lease agreement or quote from Leasing 2 and a resolution for the purchase of a chassis for the leaf unit. So it's the truck with different bodies and all this fancy stuff that can do all kinds of jobs. So we have the information there. That's for a vote. Just so that you know, this is being funded 50% by the Department of Environmental Protection. And then we have in a lot 50% that's made up of liquid fuels funding that we get every year for equipment. That's really what the lease is. So we're going to get a lease for the vehicle. It's going to get covered by liquid fuels funding that we get every year. And then there's a smaller amount that we're going to get from the purchase of the Wildcat conveyor that we sold for $11,200. And then anything else that's needed, we have a portion of $30,000 that we have earmarked and pulled cash. So that will be up for vote. And the last item is an engagement letter for the 2024 audit, which will occur in 2025 from the auditors. Basically, it's a 10% increase, and I tried to give you an idea of where that is and where we've been in the past, and it's pretty close to where we've been. From 18%, one year was 26%, so there is a 10% increase on that over last year's. Do you have any questions?
No.
Oh, the
Talk
budget
about-
timeline?
Yeah, were you gonna bring that up?
I can, yeah, absolutely. So I have begun, budgeting, I know it sounds early, but till we get all of the, departments in and looking at their numbers and thinking about next year, the budget, I don't think I have it attached, the budget timeline, if there's meetings, we always schedule a lot of meetings, last year we didn't use all of them. So if anybody has an issue with any of those dates, typically we start them at 5.
They say 5:30 on your.
5:30?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could not do a 5 o'clock meeting.
Okay, no, is it 5:30?
It says
Yeah,
5:30.
Okay, 5:30 it is then. So if anybody has any issues with those dates, I'd like to know, sooner rather than later.
Are they all Tuesdays?
No. I believe I have.
Oh.
On weeks that there are council meetings, I didn't schedule. I think there were Wednesday meetings. And then weeks that we don't have council meetings, I think they're Tuesdays. And maybe Thursdays.
September 16th is a Monday.
Oh, and
Is it-
Mondays.
23rd.
I don't have
You
it in
just
front of
pick
me.
dates.
What's
There's a
the,
lot of reading.
what's the
Right.
23rd?
23rd is a Monday. 24th is a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The 30th is a Monday.
Oh, they're all Monday.
October 2nd is a Wednesday.
There, Wednesday.
The 7th is a Monday. The 8th is a Tuesday. And that covers them.
Okay. Monday.
And if it doesn't work, I'll move them, but I'll have to move them later, 'cause based on everybody's schedule here,
Not
those
mine.
are the days, well, everybody's, I think, with council meetings, and we can just move them later.
I'm okay with
Okay.
it. I'm okay.
Just let me know and I can
When's
revise
Monday
it
Night
and-
Football start?
Yeah.
I don't watch football.
I do.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, Fire Department.
Just a few things to touch on real quick. For the month of June, the department responded to 51 calls of service. So far for the month of July, we've responded to 35. In the past 4 days, during all this heat, in the past 4 days, we have responded to 4 working fires in outside municipalities during that time frame. We held a fundraiser at Jack Frost. For those counselors that came out, I appreciate the support and thank you very much. We brought in just under $1,000 from that fundraiser. Which brings me into the next thing that was brought up the last meeting was our fundraising. I know Mayor Curry brought up about the $500 for the fundraisers that we had done, but it was said about those, but I want to talk about other fundraisers that we've done. We've brought in over $226,350 for fire trucks. This is on the fire department side, not the borough's contributions. We received a grant for $72,000 to put a exhaust extraction system into the firehouse. We received $25,000 during the COVID relief disaster. And from 2017 to 2023, the department received $73,894 from the State Fire Commissioners Association to help us with our everyday costs. We also secured a FEMA grant of over $525,000 to replace our air packs, which was also a regional grant that I headed up to make sure that us, Londonderry, Heist Fire, and Hummelstown all had the newest air packs, all paid for with a grant. Other sources of income that we get, we had from 2017 to 2023, $314,893 from the Firemen's Relief Association. We also have a response agreement set up with the Pennsylvania Turnpike when we respond to their calls. Response agreements with 3 Mile Island prior to the shutdown. We do hall rentals, and we have a property rental agreement with South Central EMS. So it's not just $500 from a fundraiser. Those are some of the things that we've gotten support from the community, support from different representatives to help fund us, and that we still, unfortunately, need to make sure we have that sinking fund, because without it, this money that I talked about is already gone. The ladder truck alone, case in point, it was brought up about us renting a ladder truck. The bills on that ladder truck to give it a, quote, midlife refurb, if you will, to push it a little bit more, was over $80,000. We're not talking about a normal car bill. We're not talking about a normal repair bill out of a car facility. Also, I know it was brought up about the online, the raffles that Mr. Kluskevich brought up. I just want to clear the air on that. We've gone down that avenue. During COVID, it was House Bill 290, and it was allowed. When COVID all expired, House Bill 290 was sent away, and then it was introduced as House Bill 1268. When it was introduced by Representative Ryan Warner, he introduced it. It made it to the House of Representatives Gaming Oversight Committee, where it has been stalled since May of 2023. We have been told by the DA, and we have been told by this House bill, it is illegal to do those. You are not allowed to be doing those online raffles at this time. We asked what the repercussions would be. A, our small games of chance license, out the door, gone. Number two, the state could request all the funds back. So as much as we want to engage in the online raffles because they are easy to do, unfortunately, we can't. Our hands are tied with that one. I know it was brought up about the fire truck. There was some discontent at the last meeting. I believe everybody had received my letter. I did find it somewhat offensive when it was said that the fire department wasn't willing to put in the hard work. Fire department was. Fire department gave a letter in May that had 4 bullet points with questions and never received any answers to those questions. That is all I have. Anybody have any questions for me? Go ahead.
How do you advertise your fundraising, Ken? Because I'll tell you what.
So the Mr. Stickies actually became a fluke. That was set up as a scheduled post to go out, and the Mr. Sticky post never went out. We didn't realize that it didn't go out until it was too late because of the time frame of the order. The Jack Frost thing, we do a lot of it through social media because that's what everybody uses now, and it's free. So we do that. I did talk to Grace and Jenny. Jenny brought it to my attention. Grace doesn't look at Facebook much, but if there's something that we put up there, she will gladly share it on the borough's Facebook to get it out on social media. I don't tweet whatever that thing is. I don't do any of that, so I don't know how any of that works. The firehouse, to my knowledge, doesn't have a Twitter account. We have Instagram and things like that to reach the people now, but other than that, I mean, to get a newspaper, you got to spend money to put it in, and by the time you put it in the newspaper, what profit did you make? So we've just been trying to hit it hard on Facebook.
I have a question for you. Going back to those air packs, you said you received funding for new air packs. How much
Yep.
was that?
That was a regional grant between 4 departments, and that was a little over $520,000 that was received.
Your old air packs, what did you do with them?
They were deemed that we could not resell. They would not trade them in, and the liability to resell them was...
So you just destroyed them?
No, what they were done was they were donated to the Dauphin County Technical School, to the emergency response class or shop, whatever you would like to call it up there, for them to use for their training exercises. They could be used in a training exercise or something like that, but because of the date and a lot of our harnesses, they're black harnesses. If you ever see one and it's orange, that's because it had too much flame impingement and it's actually degraded and should be out of service. So those packs were then donated to the Voc Tech School so that they could use them for the kids for training purposes.
So that was $500,000 between 3 departments?
4.
4 departments?
4 departments.
So you valued yours at, let's just...
Our air packs alone, each air pack costed a little over $7,000 a piece. and I have 36 air packs.
That's a chunk of change.
Yep.
So hypothetically speaking, if they wouldn't have been deemed not useful anymore, you could have resold them, correct?
Probably for like the highest amount that he got, or that any of those 4 departments got on a trade-in was $100 per air pack bracket, like harness, and $25 a cylinder. So 125 at best.
But you
per,
could have
per each one.
you could have sold them.
I could not have. No, they were deemed. He said they're a liability. Don't do it. He said when you're done with them, you're done with them. Like they should. He said unless the school wants them, take them and cut them up. And that was through the Relief Association, which I contacted the Relief president and vice president, told them, and they said okay, get a release of liability from the Votech school. And then that's where they.
No, that's great. I'm actually glad that they found a new home with some young students.
That's it. They're going to get the use out of them because they're never going to be breathing air out of them. So that took care of that. We had the release of liability for our side. They get them. They just needed them for the weight, the feel, maintenance, things like that. So we donated them to them.
Excellent.
Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you. Thanks for giving us that info.
No
Coming
problem.
up. It means a lot.
Mr. Whelan did say he is working on an entire list, not just from 2017 to now, an entire list from our merger the whole way to now of what funds we've procured through grants and donations and everything, just to give you a ballpark to understand that it still isn't covering everything, and that's what.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah. Is there any other upcoming like events or fundraisers?
Oh, there is another one coming up, but I forget what it was. The biggest one right now, and if anybody wants tickets, let me know. The Pew Pew raffle's coming up, so we'll have the tickets for that here shortly.
The what? The what?
You
Gun
can't
raffle.
say that. You can't say that.
Yeah, I just said it.
Yeah.
Guns.
Okay, now I know.
Oh,
what it
the
is.
smoker will be coming up, so we'll have tickets for that. I believe they just got printed, so we'll be starting to sell that. And that one we focus a lot of attention on. And I know it was said that we could possibly do 2 of those a year. No, the amount of logistics that go into it to get people down, to wire the whole place up with all the TVs, the sound systems, the getting all the guns on reserve, the food, it's not a non-labor intensive. And I'm not trying to look for the easy way out with fundraisers. Believe me, the best one we could have ever done would have been if we could do online raffles, but we can't. I don't think any of us are willing to take a liability like that when we're told flat out, do not do this. So I'm not going to do it. Other departments are doing it, and other departments have them out there, and they're making a killing buying fire trucks with the profits. I'm not going to have my money taken from me later. But I will keep everybody up to date. I will keep Grace in the mix so that she always has it posted through the borough's website for our fundraisers and everything like that. But anybody else have any other questions, comments, or concerns for the fire department? I appreciate your time. Oh, you do? I thought you were just holding it like.
Oh, yeah.
What's up?
I just want, well, I have 2 things. First, I realize that the, small fundraisers like Mr. Stickies and I forget what the other ones were, like they may not bring in a lot of revenue, but I appreciate that they're done because I think it's a different source of revenue and it gets the community involved when, they know about them. And again, those sticky buns were banging, so you should do that again so Clue can try them because he missed out.
No carbs.
No carbs.
I want them.
I'll make sure of that.
And my next question is, and I don't know if this is a possibility or not, but, on the back of our electric bills, like if they have like the gun smoker, is that something that could be put on the back of that?
Yeah, I think so.
We can
So-
do fundraisers?
Yeah, like,
Who do I contact to do that? part?
Grace.
Grace for the same thing?
Does, no,
Contact me.
You?
Yeah.
Okay. So just send you a list of our fundraisers for,
Yeah, send us a list and I'll work with Lori to see how we can set them on.
I appreciate it.
I would also CC Grace on that so she can do Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both.
Well, and she said once it's posted, let her know, because she doesn't get on Facebook, but she said she will get on to get it, to put it onto the borough site.
We might have to change the wording and stuff so it fits.
Mm-hmm.
like shorten it a little bit, but
Yeah.
at least,
Our annual smoker.
QQ,
No, just put smoker.
MBFD.
You can also, it's not just guns, you can take it as a cash prize. So
Right.
that's the other thing, if you don't like guns, you can take it as a cash prize and get the money for the value of the gun.
Ken,
When
Yeah.
is that?
I had a great time Thursday night. That was great.
What's that?
What, do you know the date already?
October, no,
Okay. That's fine.
I'll get it posted.
Okay.
Nothing else?
Thank you,
Nope.
Chief.
Appreciate it. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
You too.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 10.
Oh, Easter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If I may.
Go.
I'd just
Absolutely.
like to throw a quick thought out here for you. This concept of fundraising, is a grant a fundraiser? You don't have to answer, I want you to think about it. He just read off well over $1 million in grants that we've received. So one or two people takes the initiative to make that happen. In the case of the one with the borough and the debt reduction, Ken's involved, Sally's involved, but is going out and getting a $500,000 grant a fundraiser?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's not.
But it's a grant. I mean, it is what it brings in money, and it's, I mean, grant is a grant.
Okay, I
Fundraising,
know where we're
fundraising.
going. Thank you.
For the record, I don't downplay that at all. I think that is phenomenal, the work and effort that our volunteer fire department put in to get and achieve those grants. I don't downplay that one bit. I don't want that to be taken that way. Very, very appreciative of it. Agenda item number 10.
Good evening, everybody.
Real quick and simple, Colston backboards are up and the pickleball has been installed down at Hoffer. I emailed the info to Nate, so he's going to start setting things up and getting those programmed over there.
Awesome.
The humane cat traps have been delivered. Our mechanic Scott I got metal laser etch tags for them. They are down at PD, so we should be able to rock and roll when folks want to come and get vouchers. So, other than that, does anyone have any questions for me?
Councilor Kluskevich? All right, excellent, Matt. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 11, HRC. Do you have anything to report?
Sure.
Sure, yeah.
Well, there was supposed to be papers in your packet requesting you to take a vote on sponsoring us for the aiming grant to do a National Historic District.
I believe that,
I didn't realize this was a workshop meeting. I didn't realize you couldn't take a vote tonight. I am under a bit of a time crunch.
no, we're not voting tonight.
No, we're not.
Well, so if it could be on your next meeting for the August 6th, because we have a deadline of August 15th to have a sponsoring agency.
Does any councilor have any questions for the HRC?
I did. How much did you want to ask for?
Well, I'm waiting for a revised quote, but the quote that we had from 2020 was about $45,000 to $50,000. Now, it is something that they did break apart into two sections, so we could do it over a 2-year period.
And refresh my memory, this is for the
The National Historic District.
How many are we looking at, Joanne?
How many, what?
Historic districts are you looking at?
Well, I mean, it's one district. It goes, I'll just be brief, like from approximately Ann Street up Union Street. It goes, a little bit further to, I think right about where you would turn onto Union, or off of Union Street from Park Circle. And it goes, a little bit in each, about a block or so in each direction through Union Street.
Does any of it encompass like parts of Pine Street or anything like that?
I don't think, the survey was done about 35 years ago.
Yeah.
So as it stood then, I don't think so. We can expand on that, but, the more we expand, the more work they're gonna have to do and the more money that's gonna be required.
Is that the one Eleanor Overdeer was involved in, or is that right, Jenny? Ellen?
I think
Most likely.
there's still a copy of that survey up at the State Preservation Society, or
Yeah,
people.
I also have a copy of it too. I'm waiting to get a copy.
or, make another copy.
Yeah, that's what puzzles me. It was already done. I don't understand why they're charging us to do a whole new one.
As you know, we don't really have records, even though the HRC has been
But
around
the
for
state has
50
those
years.
records, so we can
Right,
get
I
them.
mean the HRC records, so we don't know what transpired with them, because we don't have minutes or anything like that. I presume they were lost in a flood, or
Did you ever ask to get a copy
a copy of the, well,
of the
we were-
completed survey?
I have a copy of the completed survey,
Okay,
the original copy, yeah.
that was the one done 30 years ago,
Yeah, about 35.
35.
And
That was one Eleanor did then?
I think it must have been.
Something tells me that she was around then.
um,
doing it then.
question for you: if the overlay was implemented, refresh my memory, wouldn't it put burdens on the residents on how they would renovate their houses?
It's not an overlay at all. It's just a federal national historic district. So if if buildings are renovated within that district that meet certain requirements, they can get a 20% federal and state tax rate if they meet certain requirements for an income producing property. So it has the ability to potentially create new businesses or even existing businesses, whether it's the Brownstone or Alfred Victorian or Carnes, any of them, if they meet the criteria, they can take advantage of that. It doesn't come with any restrictions whatsoever. If you want to tear your building down and it's in that district, you can tear it down. It doesn't have any restrictions at all.
Jason, do you have any knowledge or insight on this?
I have been made aware of federal incentives to maintain historical buildings, but I don't know like how long that lasts or if there's a deadline or anything like that.
I guess my question would be, if this would go in effect, what would that have on you? Would you have any
There'd be no skin in the game
for codes?
Yeah. Just to give you an example, there's an old, the Dixie Cups. There was an old Dixie Cup manufacturing plant in New Jersey, and there's someone that wants to buy that and I think turned into apartments or something like that.
So I'm involved in that one, I'm doing that one, that's in Pennsylvania, it's not in,
Oh, I thought it was in New
it's in
Jersey.
Wilson Borough.
Okay, so they're actually applying for the designation of.
Yeah, I'm not aware that we're doing, this is the Dixie with the big cup on the roof and everything, it's actually being,
Yeah, I read this in the paper a few
Yeah,
weeks ago. It said
I'm
they
in the
were
middle of that
applying for
one.
the National
yeah,
Historic District.
Skyline, Investments.
And I presumed it was so that they could take advantage of the 20% tax.
We have a tax increment financing district there and some other things going on.
I'll have to see if I can find that article.
Yeah,
'cause
I mean, it's
read that about
possible,
3
but
weeks
I
ago.
don't recall the federal piece, but, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 12. Director Wright.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to sincerely thank you all for the flowers. It means a lot to me, and thoughts and prayers help carry me through this difficult time. Three things real quick. We got our first application for a TNR today, right at 2 o'clock. It wasn't issued because it was at the end of the working day for the office staff, but the voucher will be issued tomorrow. So
Excellent.
Good.
we're moving along.
Good.
So, secondly, I attended the Peacemakers Quilting Guild annual luncheon or picnic, and they presented me with a bunch of quilts. And the one thing I found out, I'd take it out and show it to you, but it's kind of like a road map. I'll never get it back in the back, okay? But you can see it says child and male, and it's a quilt with some football players and stuff on it. These are like super high quality quilts. Some of the adult quilts would sell for several $100s. So the original idea of just tossing someone a police car, and when somebody comes across somebody in need and handing them out, we have changed that to some degree. We're going to have officers identify families or individuals that are either residents of the borough or crime victims within the borough, approach the leadership team with their requests, and we'll give the quilts out. Even if it takes us a period of time, we'll get them out. And our first 2 quilts are being given out tomorrow.
Oh.
We had a potential abduction attempt up at Union and High Streets, where a 4 and a 6-year-old were approached by an individual who was in a little different mental altered state and kind of made some comments to them and was grabbing at the kids. Unfortunately, there was an adult there, and fortunately, we were able to identify him actually with an assist from the mayor. The mayor's house is right across the street, and he saw what was happening, and they described the individual to him, and he had had contact with him in the past and helped us identify who this guy was. We would have eventually identified him, but the mayor's assistance helped get us there quicker. We got to the house, arrested him. We don't know quite what his intentions were because he was kind of crazy. I don't like to throw that term out there, but I'm glad we didn't have to find out what his intentions were. So it ended pretty quickly, and the 2 officers who dealt with the children that day are going to go down to the house and present them with quilts.
Awesome.
So we're going to implement these quickly, and hopefully we'll have these for a period of time. And the Quilting Guild was awesome. It was great. They were all very, very proud and happy to present their quilts, and they obviously put a lot of work into it. So they're going to forward me some photographs from the event so we can do a shout out on social media about what they've done for the borough. So.
Awesome.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 13, joint venture / Viola. No representatives here tonight. Agenda item number 14, council. Does council have?
Yeah, I have something.
What do you?
Back to the trapping program. Is there something we can put out there, like on Facebook, so that more people would realize that that's being offered now?
Sure.
Yep.
Make a Facebook post.
Let's put that on the back of the electric bill too. Can we fit it?
Yeah.
Like your CVS.
It'll look like Viola's bill after a while.
Any other, anybody else have anything? Where are we at with the basketball court, down in the park? Basketball court?
I know my recollection was there was going to be a survey done on the land. That's all I know.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
There was a
out of
survey.
tonight's meeting, I realized that some people's opinions were not moving and taking care of things fast enough. We've talked about a basketball court. The residents are going without one. What are we doing about it? Have we done the survey? Has the survey been done?
Survey was done.
Survey was done. So what's the outcome?
I think it was reported on already, wasn't it? Didn't we report on that in a previous work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said the survey was done previously.
Does council wish to move forward with a basketball court? Are we not doing a basketball court? I don't remember.
Yeah, the survey in that little parcel, or that triangle, as I recall, was really tight.
Yes.
And I don't know that you can keep, you'd have to like have a really small,
Correct.
smaller than a half court type thing, right?
Yes. It would be also
And I remember you saying it'd be right up against that other property where the,
it would be close to the sidewalk as well, because of the angle of the shape of the property.
Well, in the same token, that lady where we were talking about putting it at, what was it, Spring or Spruce? Spruce and Roosevelt? She wants to buy that property there, so, I mean, why not sell it to her?
Have to auction it.
Have to auction it, yeah.
What-
Highest bid.
Whatever.
And I would definitely vote to put that property up for sale.
Well, there's 2 properties.
this is the one that we talked about that's really all part of one deed.
There's
Oh,
one between
okay.
Ridge and, there's one between
So it would
Ridge
have to
and
be
Roosevelt,
subdivided,
one,
a lot of.
Right.
and there's one on the other side between, that runs up Spruce, that's kind of a triangular looking,
Yeah.
which I don't think anybody's looking to buy.
All those parcels, the triangular ones, are the one that, you talked about, to
Right.
the park, the
They're all
actual
one
park
piece.
and the baseball field, it's all one deed.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
is
you'd
it?
have to subdivide and
Yeah.
spend money on that, and I don't know.
That's part of that, probably that tract, if I'm picturing right, from back, original Fry Trust stuff that was
And the whole,
not part of that
all
because
those
it was.
I thought it
parcels
was two
has
different properties.
storm and sanitary.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that
Yes,
was the
I
old
remember.
Middletown,
Physically is, but it's not.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, that predated the authority, it was actually where all the pipes went through. I know where, it was all one big piece.
Well, my opinion is I would definitely support a basketball court inside the park.
So what, are we gonna put this on the agenda for next time, is that what you're saying?
I'm asking people's opinion. I mean, this is something we've talked about and it just fell through the cracks. So,
Yeah, I mean, we've been sitting on it for, I mean, honestly, I didn't know that survey was done, I never was aware of it, that's what I was kinda waiting to hear. If we have that information, it's not gonna go in that small parcel, it doesn't make sense, so it's either, yes, we're gonna have a court in that area there where the playground is, or we're not.
yeah, it's that simple.
I mean,
Yeah,
put it on the
park.
agenda for next time and move past this, or?
I'm sorry, before we get that far, I have a question. Matt? Is there money in your budget for a basketball court anywhere at this point this year? Because sometimes I feel like we get a little ahead of ourselves, and I'm not saying we should put this to rest. You know, maybe we need to make a decision on where we're gonna have it, but before we commit to doing something, we really should know if we have the money for it.
We did not plan for basketball court construction this year in this year's budget.
So we'd be putting the cart before the horse then.
So I think maybe we do need to get back to what do we wanna do and try to get some pricing and plans, so then he could plan for that for next year, because
And that's a very fair point.
Makes sense.
And this is why I recommended, I keep hearing this money thing, we don't have money for this, we don't have money for this. And that's why I recommended, we're selling a piece of equipment, that would give us some money to do some upgrades, much needed upgrades, in our community, and that's where that thought process came from. But I would, support a basketball court and putting it inside the park, and if we need to get pricing on it and add it to the budget, we can absolutely do that. And the kids can wait.
no, I agree with that.
So I guess the kids will wait, and that's that. Okay.
I actually have a question. Roughly, do a lot of people still come in and pay their electric bill downstairs, like a fair amount?
I
So,
can get you numbers, but,
Oh.
yeah, we're pretty, there's slow days and then there's swamp days. Days that are a due date, they're always busy.
well, and the reason I'm asking is to what you were saying about getting the word out there, like maybe somebody, maybe Sydney could maybe do like a little flyer or something about
Yeah,
the
I
trap
thought
and
about
release
that too, a
program.
flyer.
You could put it downstairs, cause I know there's
Oh,
other,
sure, for sure.
information down there.
I think Grace had put something together.
Or maybe Grace, I was just saying Sydney because but whoever, it doesn't matter, I mean, maybe somebody could do that and put it down there and then the residents could see it when they, come pay their bill.
Yeah, we can do that.
At the police.
Oh. I didn't know her name.
I mean, there's forms put together that explain the project and what the process is, so we could put those down there.
Mhm.
I mean, we have a ton of stuff down there, but we could put it out.
So just to confirm, so staff has the correct direction to go, they're gonna work on putting pricing together for a basketball court inside the park for 2025's budget.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done with that, that's why I asked.
No, I just wanna make sure that there's no confusion, staff knows exactly the direction to go, that while we're all sitting here, so they're gonna work on putting pricing together for a basketball court inside the park for next year's budget.
I wrote it down.
Okay, excellent. Any, council have anything else? Do I have at this time, do I have general public comment?
Hello, my name is Jeremiah Underhill. I'm on the school board over here at Seven Sorrows School. We're working on an application to Dauphin County for their gaming funds grant. And so we're gonna be asking this council to issue a sponsor letter for us. We'd like you to vote on that at the next council meeting. We have a proposal pulled together. I have hard copies I can give. I can also submit electronic copies to you all as well. And the basic gist of it is we're looking for $74,807.22 to redo 3 spaces within the school. 2 of them are classrooms, and 1 of them is the cafeteria. Have any questions about our application, or obviously all the proposal review before the next meeting?
Anybody have any questions?
Can we see the hard copy, please?
Yeah.
That was something you saw already, Ken, or not?
Should be 8 copies there.
While it's being passed around, I actually have a question for you that you may or may not have an answer to.
Okay.
Do you know if the school is still using the Fry Park for football / cheerleading practice?
Mr. President, we are no longer, we have informed Seven Sorrows Eagles football that they are not allowed to use the Seven Sorrows name because we no longer sponsor them. But they have not taken that off. So we are no longer a part of Seven Sorrows. Seven Sorrows Church is no longer a part of Seven Sorrows football, but they use the Seven Sorrows name, continue to.
And they're still using the Fry Park?
We were told they were still, by the people that run it, we were told they're still using the park.
Okay, that's, I was just curious.
Thank you, yes.
I'm sorry, I have a question, and you may not know the answer, or may not be comfortable answering it, but is that the Seven Stars Football, is that an organization in Middletown, or is it not in Middletown anymore, and they're just using the Seven Stars name?
I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest. We had been in touch with the people who took it over after we are not allowed to sponsor a team because of the insurance problems.
Oh, okay.
So we don't know, we did know who was running it at that point. We had fallen out of contact.
Okay.
It's been 5 or 6 years, I think.
Oh, thank you. So, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you.
We should, I mean,
Yeah,
we really
to
need to
find
get
out.
like,
Because if they're using our facilities and they're not a borough organization, or do they have insurance?
Yeah,
What
right.
is the liability?
They have a trailer of their stuff over there.
they have
in the park.
tons of assets down there. They have stuff just deteriorating in the woods, old football equipment. I think they may be resuming, because when I left, I don't know, when I left, there was cars all the way down to the end of Hoffer Street, so something's going on down there.
Oh, I think it's their camp week. I read that.
Who's Camp Week?
Seven Sorrows.
Oh, they still have an active engagement, but we no longer sponsor. We haven't for
Right.
5 years, I believe.
Right,
Before I
so,
got here.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to
Sure.
our
Yeah.
attention. I just think we need to get on,
Yeah,
the borough needs to get on board with who's using it, who's running it, what are their insurance requirements, and just their emergency contact and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that stuff that we should probably have on file.
thank you.
So thank you for bringing that to our attention, and thank you for
Thank
your
you for
cover
your
letter here,
consideration.
and we appreciate it.
Thank you for your consideration.
So how do we go about who?
I think I heard that information from the Mara people, that they were still using.
From who?
Nate Eagle at Mara. I think he's the one that told me they were still using it. Middletown Area Recreation Association, the old Homestead Group.
Yeah.
Nate Eagle.
Oh.
I think he is the one who told me that they were still playing football.
Okay.
So I'd have to talk to him or somebody to find out who was
Yeah,
the person
see who
running
that
it.
is.
Can you talk to
Yeah, no,
them?
they're definitely still playing down there.
Mara.
Who?
Mara,
Yeah,
and find out what they know about it?
okay. The last I knew, it was still Middletown people, Middletown kids.
Yeah, they just put that banner up in the square.
Okay, excellent. Any more general public comment?
Greg Wilsbach, 719 Spruce Street. You keep bringing up about this basketball court in the park, and I'm going to go on record as saying, as a resident being there for 35 years, that is the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard, because you know we have issues at Hoffer Park and basketball courts against little kids where they play. The two do not mix. We knew that when we built that park, but yet we're still sitting here talking about putting a basketball court there. When it was across the street, it was bad enough. The kids barely heard it, but when they did, the parents made sure that it was, you know, there was confrontation. You put it inside that park, you're going to have a mix of big kids and little kids, and they two don't mix. I suggest the borough look for an alternative place for basketball court. No resident around that area wants it, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
You can go to any resident around there. So how about we go put a basketball court right beside your house? I guarantee you, you will have a problem with it. If I do it beside the mayor's house, he will have a problem with it. So to keep saying, let's do this here, let's look at alternatives where it's not going to affect the people in the surrounding houses and the little kids. That's what I worry about. I've heard the swearing. I've had to go over too many times to stop fights, to stop the swearing, because parents, little adult or parents over there, whether they were young women or whatever, didn't want to say anything at the time, and you could tell they were getting frustrated. We have older people that walk in that area now that love that park. You will change the dynamics of that park if you put a basketball court there. And I don't think you want to do that. We should learn from history, and history has told us when that basketball court was there beside Hoffer Park and they put the kids castle there, they almost shut down that basketball court because all the parents heard what went on at the basketball court. We put a buffer in between there. It helped somewhat, but there were still issues. There's calls, and I understand there's not always police calls there, but it is going to be a different dynamic with that park with big kids and little kids, and you don't have the area there. You have little kids that play in that sole area that you want to do it, that play flying kites, that play football, that play touch games. I see them out there practicing karate. It's a little kid park. I just think you're really going to ruin it.
Okay.
You're going to ruin the dynamic. Personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other general public comment? Do I have a motion to adjourn? We will be going to executive session. We will not be returning.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Can I start signing this stuff? There's a line to sign.
Did she give you the stuff to sign?
Can I sign all this?
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's at this council chamber when that gets out, because nobody I know wants it.
That's already all been.
Do you know how many phone calls I've had from people?
30th or 31st.
And you know what I
This
told
says
them?
vice
If
president.
it comes back up, I will let you know, because you need to come here and speak.
That is set up that way, I always say.
Going back and forth.
Yeah, because I think we want 13 original signatures
I'm glad he brought
Oh my God.
on the one thing. So you're gonna see 13 that all look the same, then there's, I think, 3 from the other document in there.
Okay, let's roll. I still don't have a phone. But my grandson was able to text me. I got the text that said, "What's wrong with your
Sign
phone?"
here.
And evidently, my husband's phone don't work either.
So it's not your phone.
I'm telling you, I think he sabotaged it.
It's the network or whatever.
No, I don't think it is. He was on the phone fighting with Verizon when I left. I think they zapped us.
Me?
About that.
No, that's when I get things done.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanna make sure I got everything. I know, there's 3 copies of each there. Now, we have a lot more. This water's away.
on.
years,
No.
he'll be anywhere there watching.
And he's a very nice person.
Oh, yeah.
I guess there's a whole nest of them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Pat.
Oh, yeah, you son of a gun, you. You got fucking Mr. Hardback. I heard him over there